In Nigeria, the ongoing slaughter of thousands of Christians by various ethnic militias in the Middle Belt, as well as terrorist groups like Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa in the north, is both tragic and unacceptable. The mass abduction of students and teachers from religious schools in Nigeria is nothing short of barbaric. As President Trump has made clear, we cannot and will not stand by while such atrocities occur on a regular basis and without consequence. That is why the United States is taking decisive action under a new policy that will allow...
All right, so it is official. The U.S. congressman has confirmed that ISIS operates in Nigeria. In case you don't know, ISIS is an Islamic state. They are a very deadly terrorist group. Very, very deadly. So the U.S. congressman has confirmed that ISIS operates in northern part of Nigeria. And when I saw this news, I was saddened. I started thinking, how? Nigeria, how did we get to this point? And it dawned on me that there are about 4 or 5 or even more terrorist group in Nigeria. And I began to think, how will Nigeria manage this? How will the Nigerian government manage all these terrorist group? In case you don't know, we have this ISIS, they are terrorist group, they operate in Nigeria. We have Boko Haram, of course, that one is, the north is their base. We have, who again? Fulani herdsmen. We have Fulani herdsmen, they operate. Those ones are the ones going around from state to state, taking over lands. We have bandits. I think bandits, they are also extract from Fulani herdsmen. And is there any other one? And probably so many other ones. And then I begin to ask myself, will Nigeria be able to sustain this? Where you have about 4 or 5 deadly terrorist group in one country. What is happening? What is Nigerian government doing? We really need to ask this question. But honestly, as I was thinking about this, a kind of prophecy flashed on my face. Oh yes, I'm going to play that prophecy for you. It's just quite unfortunate. There's one popular saying in Igbo that na wanti obo na nti anulo na ebulu isi nti esolie. Oh yes, this prophecy I'm telling you that flashed over my face has been prophesied over 8 years ago. Yes, over 8 years ago about the ISIS operation in Nigeria. Oh yes, and this prophecy it also reveals what they are doing in Nigeria, why they are in Nigeria, their mission in Nigeria, and what they intend to do afterward, after they have completed their mission. We know of Boko Haram, those ones that say they don't want a Western education. But ISIS is a different one altogether. Oh yes. So please, I want to beg you. Of course, now, as I always say, you don't need somebody to tell you what is happening. You yourself need to know what is happening. Oh yes, you need to know what is happening, especially if you are living in Nigeria. So please, I'm going to allow you now to listen to this prophecy made by this great man of God. A man of God that so many people has castigated, that so many people throw stone upon, that so many people wish him death. But unfortunately, unfortunately for them, God has kept him alive and God is still sustaining him. He made this prophecy and what is to come after the ISIS, the Boko Haram, all this terrorist group has gathered in Nigeria. So please, I want to beg you to spend just a few minutes and listen to him. After listening to him, you know where to drop your comment in the comment section what you think. But I tell you that something is about to happen in Nigeria. Well, please listen to him.
People who out of cowardice and self-hate think that Nigeria somehow can be won. Yet all of you know that Nigeria is an Islamic country. I'm sure you're aware of that. All of you also understand the intentions of the Fulani. Oh, if you want the presidency, you have to work for it. Tinubu, you must work for it. How is Tinubu working for it? You must condemn anybody who comes out to speak against our people in your forest. That's what they are doing. Some of you don't understand it, but we do. Some of you do not understand what is happening, but we do. And that is why we are here to tell you that every Fulani man is in on this. Their foot soldiers are Mieti Allah. Have you all forgotten that they gave Mieti Allah 100 billion? Have you all forgotten? No, typical Nigeria nigger. Have you all forgotten? So you've forgotten that this so-called presidency, Garba gave Mieti Allah 100 billion to come down to the south to give peanuts to useless monarchs and traditional rulers so that our forests can be taken. Have you all forgotten? Oh, you have. Of course, you're in the zoo. You've forgotten. Did they give 100 billion to any other organization? Did Asorok give 100 billion to any other group? Why would a government give 100 billion to a bunch of terrorists and openly claim that they are stakeholders in the government?
ISIS will enter the zoo and Chad unless, and this is from an Islamic newspaper. As I told you before, anything you hear on Radio Biafra is correct. I told you on this platform that they will come for you. You see, let me tell you one thing that people don't know because you don't know history. I forgive some of you because in your schools in the zoo they don't teach you anything. I want some people to actually go and sit down and study the history of Islam. Islam is the only religion that has never stopped growing. Islam is the only religion that has never stopped expanding through militancy and war. Others have stopped, only Islam. Christianity is based on convincing people, telling them about the message of hope and restoration of Yahweh Yeshua. Of course, immensely corrupted, that we know for sure. But Islam believes in expanding through war, and that war is coming. Now, I must be put on record. And Uchemefo, I wanted to record this very broadcast and play it all the time for our people to also understand and listen very carefully. And I will say it tonight. And if you come to me in the future, I'll refer you to the broadcast of the 8th of June 2015. And that I made this very comment I'm about to make now at precisely 10 minutes to 8 p.m. in the evening. If ISIS comes down into the zoo, of course they are part of Boko Haram anyway. If they fall, not if they, because they have forged an alliance already. If they launch any attack with the name of ISIS on the zoo soil, if you come to us to give us weapons, I will decline it. I will allow them to kill all of you before we mount any counteroffensive. Let me tell you one thing that you don't understand. Some of you, you claim you went to school, but you didn't go to school. Because if you went to school, you will understand how Islam works. Islam is coming for you. They must come for you. It's a M-U-S-T, must. There is nothing anybody can do about it. Only you can defend yourselves. This headline here is a confirmation if you need one. Atiku Abubakar said it yesterday. Today is being confirmed that ISIS is coming. Not just Boko Haram, but the real bad people that are coming. They need access to the oil, and they will get it to secure their financial base for their continued expansion within the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. The zoo is seen as pivotal, and Biafra land is where the resources that they're looking for is lying in. They don't trust Buhari anymore. Buhari was their godfather, they no longer trust him. I mean Boko Haram in this instance. Buhari, they thought, would give them Sharia immediately. Buhari saying, I don't belong to anybody. From that day, they intensified their bombing. Some of you cannot reason, you cannot see very well because you're blind. But at least you're lucky. You are listening to Radio Biafra. Very, very lucky indeed. I'm telling you the truth. Or else, I can in your blindness. It is that darkness we've come to shed light on, that you can see properly. If they enter the zoo, I will not command this army. And I need guns and I have the men. I need guns and I need bullets. That's all we need. And then we win. I have been sounding this warning. I've been telling you, you think we are joking. They are coming. Your mothers will be raped. Your sisters will be married off as slaves. I'm telling you that now. Right as I speak, write it down. Biafra land will be decimated. unless we equip this army to defend us. If we don't equip our army to defend us, in other words, if we don't march this year, it will be very, very difficult for us to recover. Forget all this nonsense in the ocean. All these so-called pro-Biafra groups you're saying, Awasa brought them out to confuse you. Awasa brought them out. That is why they cannot say what we are saying or do what we're capable of doing. These are Awasa groups and you are not listening. That's now I want him. You are not listening. Because the devil has gone into all these idols that you worship. The devil has gone inside you to harden your heart, to blind your eyes that you can no longer see. That day I will tell you to remember the broadcast of the 8th of June 2015. I will tell you to go back to it. I need guns and I need weapons. If I don't have guns and bullets, the army of Biafra cannot defend your towns and villages. The sooner you get that into your thick skull, the better for everybody. You are black people, you don't reason, I know that for sure. But the sooner you take this very message seriously, the better for everybody. Or else you're finished. ISIS is coming. They will enter the zoo and Chad very, very shortly. Not as Boko Haram, they are coming in as their franchise and as their name dictates. ISIS is coming. If you like, you make haste while the sun is shining, or if you like, you can continue to be dumb and stupid. That is entirely up to you. I won't be there, but you'll be dead anyway. And Radio Biafra will not report it, and nobody will. If you like, you give us guns. If you like, you don't. We are trying to save you, not you saving us. We'll continue.
Fulani is making use of your brain. You cannot see it. They come to you. Oh, why don't you fight Yoruba? Oh, Yoruba is against Igbo. Igbo is against Yoruba. Fight each other. The same thing they did in the constitution of Biafra land. They told Ogoniman, you're not Igbo. He said, okay, I'm not. Ija, you're not Igbo. Oh, I'm not. Oh, you're not Igbo. Some of them, of course, most of them are Igbo, they agree. Oh, I'm not. And I want to ask you Ogoni people something today. Some of you don't understand the meaning of what is called divide and rule. You know, you read it, oh, divide and rule, they divided us. You don't want to put your brain behind it to understand what it means. You have no idea. When they ganged up with Sarawiwa to say Igbo man is our problem, today all that oil spill in Ogoni land, have they cleaned it up? I'm asking a question. Have they cleaned the oil in your land? Igbo man is your problem, yes? Have they cleaned the oil spill in your land? You are begging them to clean the mess that they made. How many of you own oil wells from Ogoni land? Igbo man is your problem. They want to come. They want to use Biafra to deceive us, to take our land, to dominate us. All of you crying about Niger Delta marginalization. All these years that you have nothing to do with an Igbo man. Have you survived? Have you survived? I'm asking you. Have you survived? Now let me tell them something today they don't know. The free world, they have a defense, should I say, organization called NATO. Who are the leaders of NATO? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization that every civilized nation belongs to. Who are the leaders of NATO? It is the United States of America. Somebody must lead. It cannot be everybody. One person or a group of, they must lead. They must lead because they have what it takes. God gave it, made it so in the East that we are all related anyway, as one people, tied. That's why you have Igbo, indigenous Igbo people in Bayelsa, indigenous Igbos in Rivers, indigenous in Delta, majority Igbo people. Everywhere, all the way to Igodomigodo, in Edo State, in Idu land. God made it so for a reason. The first revolution in Nigeria was led by an Igbo man, Nzobo. That is the way God made us. I can't apologize for it. Because if we leave you to do it, you cannot do it. In a billion years, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. Because you don't have what it takes to confront the Janjaweed. We do, you don't. With all due respect. Is Ogoni land clean? Do they have clean water? Do they have good schools? The same thing for Ijo. Ijo, do you have good roads and good schools? Good health care? No, they will put somebody in office for 4 years or 8 years. He will build one community center and say the dividends of democracy. As okay, see, whereas he's planning to relocate his children to Australia. Every day you wake up to the same rubbish. Every day you wake up. Every day you wake up to the same garbage. Day after day after day after day. And what is your response? The same thing over and over and over again. You go back now and say, "Oh, hey, I'm from insecurity. We are not part of what they're doing." And you accept. And look at your life and how miserable it is. You lament, you lament, you lament, but you don't have what it takes to make the much needed change.
Nigeria is facing one of the gravest religious freedom crises in the world. As the former chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Africa, I have visited and have seen firsthand the direness of the conditions in what is now the deadliest place on earth to be a Christian. They are targeted, displaced, and killed simply for their faith. The ancient plea, "Is there no help for the widow's son?" still echoes today. Since 2019, nearly 17,000 Christians have been killed. In the first 7 months of this year alone, hundreds more were murdered. On June 13th, during the Yelawada massacre, more than 280 Christians were slaughtered in a single day. These are not isolated tragedies, but a sustained pattern of religiously motivated violence, often ignored or even enabled by the Nigerian government. Extremist groups like Boko Haram, Fulani militants, and ISIS West Africa attack often without any meaningful intervention from authorities. The lack of response has created an atmosphere of impunity where Christians continue to live in constant threat and fear. The United States has previously recognized this crisis. President Trump not only designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern during his first term, but redesignated it again in his second term after President Biden inexplicably removed that designation. Religious persecution is tied to political repression and weakening institutions in Nigeria. Example, the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example. In 2022, Nigeria's Court of Appeal struck down the charges against him and ordered his release. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has also called for his unconditional release. Yet he remains in solitary confinement, in deteriorating health, and recently had to represent himself in court. Nigeria has signaled that the law is optional and targeting Christians is fair game. Just hours ago this morning, despite the pleas and cries of the Nigerian people and many Nigerian lawmakers, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was convicted on all charges. For fiscal year 2025, the U.S. has requested nearly $8 billion for sub-Saharan Africa. But when Americans see political prisoners, judicial defiance, and the slaughter of Christians, they understandably ask as they meet their own struggles, why should our tax dollars support governments that refuse to protect their own people? Is our aid aiding a genocide? Nigeria is a nation of tremendous potential, but that potential is being choked out by violent persecution of its Christian population. No country can build a stable future where churches are burned, believers are killed, and communities live in fear. The United States must stay engaged, and Nigeria must change course now.
Yes, just like I told you, Nigeria is on trial. Take a look or listen to this one again.
The simple fact is radicalized Islamists are running amok in Nigeria. They're terrorizing moderate Muslims, they're terrorizing Christians, and they are targeting Christians. That cannot be disputed. And while we see many people trying to emphasize the outside issues, lifestyle, who owns land, who is the herder, et cetera, they want to emphasize that those are the key drivers and that they're the key drivers of everything but religion. And I and many others, and I'm not just talking about those of us on this committee or Americans, I'm talking about religious leaders in Nigeria believe religion is one of, if not the main driver of targeted violence right now. We just heard from Bishop Anagbe. A week and a half ago, I talked to President Magaji. President Magaji is the president of my own, he's the Nigerian president of my own faith sect, the Christian Reformed Church. We have 400,000, mostly from a Dutch background, around 400,000 participants and members here in North America between the United States and Canada. We have 500,000 in Nigeria. We are essentially an African church that happens to be headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I want to ask this question, because this seems to be sort of part of the central argument. Well, this isn't necessary. Well, certainly the Trump administration believed it was necessary the first go around. And I want to ask this question. Did things improve when the Biden administration removed the CPC?
Thank you for your question, Representative Hyde.
And just for the record, I'm seeing a number of heads shaking no in the right behind you. And these are people that may have a little better information than what the American media is, and they're all nodding their head right now. So go ahead.
Thank you for your question, Representative Huizenga. As you mentioned, violence has increased over the last several years. It was unfortunate that the Biden administration chose to remove Nigeria as a CPC in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, and President Trump's bold action to redesignate them is a wake-up call to the Nigerian government. And as you mentioned, religion is extremist religious ideology is, of course, a primary motivator of these attacks. The attackers themselves use religious language. They target churches. They target Christians on holidays.
Yeah, and absolutely. It was Christmas Eve of 2023 when 200 people were murdered, killed in a church. Now, I want to ask this. So one question was, did things improve? I think the answer is no on that. Here's the question. Proportionally, do we see Christians killing Muslims in Christian areas of Nigeria the way that we are seeing radicalized Islamists killing Christians in Muslim areas of Nigeria?
What I can tell you, Representative Huizenga, is that Christians are disproportionately targeted based on their population.
Exactly. And by the way, for those that you can't pick up with the microphones, there's audible yeses behind you. Again, the people that are watching who are nodding their heads. Why? Because they have lived this. Their families have lived this. I went to school with kids from Nigeria. We've got neighbors who've been missionaries there, who have family there, who have friends there, who know this is going on. Yet we've got not just the mass media, we got people within Congress denying that this is happening, or certainly de-emphasizing it. It ought to be outrageous that it is Christians, moderate Muslims, anyone being terrorized by these radicalized Islamists in Nigeria, and we've got the Tinubu government sitting back and not doing enough. I recently just was interviewed by Nigerian television, Arise TV, and that was really their question. Is the Tinubu government doing enough? And I had to answer, no, they are not. And I do not understand how a delegation can come here to the United States and downplay and come up with all of these other excuses as to why this is allowed to happen. It should be rejected and should be called out for what it is.
Also about Nigeria. The government there has said that Christians are not endangered, but others say there are massacres and acts of persecution. Are Christians safe in Nigeria? And separately, what are you thinking ahead of your conversation with American youth for the National Catholic Youth Conference?
I'll answer the first question. I think in Nigeria, in certain areas, there is certainly a danger for Christians, but for all people, Christians and Muslims have been slaughtered. There's a question of terrorism. There's a question of that has to do a lot with economics, if you will, and control of the lands that they have. Unfortunately, many Christians have died, and I think it's very important to seek a way to government with all peoples to promote authentic religious freedom, respect for all people.
Chair recognizes Mr. Huizenga. Thank you, Chairman Smith, and I'm going to deviate a little bit from my written remarks, much to the chagrin of my staff, but I feel it needs to be addressed right from the very beginning. The simple fact is radicalized Islamists are running amok in Nigeria. They're terrorizing moderate Muslims, they're terrorizing Christians, and they are targeting Christians. That cannot be disputed. And while we see many many people trying to emphasize the outside issues, lifestyle, who owns land, who is the herder, et cetera, et cetera. They want to emphasize that those are the key drivers, and that they're the key drivers of everything but religion. And I and many others, and I'm not just talking about those of us on this committee or Americans, I'm talking about religious leaders in Nigeria, believe religion is one of, if not the main driver of targeted violence.
From today onwards, I have serious interest in the case outside Nigeria of Nnamdi Kanu. 3 hours ago, I spent drafting a judicial review against the government of United Kingdom in the United Kingdom court to review why they did not see rendition, why we should give evidence, thorough evidence, how Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was abducted without the country where he was abducted from knowing that he had been abducted. They came stealthily, stole the guy, abducted the guy, blindfolded him, took him to Nigeria. The court today has said yes, he was renditioned. The judge allows a silly, shambolic judge who seemed to have gone to a school compound but never gone into a classroom, tried to summarize to us. In doing so, he said he brought it out, all of it. And that is very good evidence which I have captured for me. I have, from today onwards, in the old lady in the court, in His Majesty's court, I've become an interested party on this case because it is outside Nigeria's armpit. I will now take on the Ministry of Foreign and Commonwealth that has failed to reinforce, that has failed to investigate the renditioning of Nnamdi Kanu, a British national, taken away. And courts in that country, Kenya, said no, you must bring back that person because you violated our laws. How on earth a Commonwealth country violates another Commonwealth airspace, comes at night, kills people, takes them?